Warning on the outside, speak no truth to the doomed child is probably referring to the princess. So when I think it was, I forget if it was Jarek or Taryn who mentioned that her grandmother was dead, that's what set it off. So I'm wondering if maybe that's what that was warning us about. Didn't put two and two together before.
So if you guys look at the first warning from Asterak, that would have been the one that is effectively on that obelisk outside of the tomb. I think you figured out, yeah, those first two lines is how to kind of set up the cubes. Um, the in the darkness it hides, don the mask or be seen. I think Taryn was able to kind of figure out how to kind of sneak by the Ubulaka crypt. And then, yeah, I feel like that kind of sits pretty good to recognize speak no truce to the Doom Child. So you guys have one kind of final warning with that one in the keys turn on the inside only. I think it's kind of a minor detail to recognize, but I pretty much have this entire map revealed for you guys at this point now, because one of the things that, again, very minor, but you kind of did figure out was when you came back from the water, when you guys initially got swept up by the actual flow of the water walking down the river, you were right around this curve and basically got swept up where you saw those stairs. And eventually going backwards, you would find that led back into the tomb of Mao. Not wanting to go through the actual like chomping face with those flaming eyes again, we basically had you all walk back through, and you would have kind of crossed back through all of this and basically come back around like that. And I think the other thing is to recognize, like, you guys also did figure out it's only metal that touches that statue. So there was kind of a different sort of gravity in that place. Once you started to recognize, like, you could either leave your metal behind or you just had to kind of, like, take it off and cover it kind of thing. And that's where I kind of like had you guys just start to almost use that magnetic pole as a different kind of gravity, and you were almost traversing that room as if you're climbing and like belaying each other kind of across and through to different places, effectively recognizing, like, once Justin's Jarek slammed up against the statue, there were three different things that happened. Your sword didn't get turned to rust. Your normal mundane metal things did turn to rust. And normal mundane metal things that were covered in anything from leather to fabric did not turn to rust.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, exposed. Yeah, exposed metal that touched it. Yeah.
So we kind of left off with this idea of, I think we're still pretty much back here around Mao's temple when we kind of like left it off. With last session. But one of the things I think I said to you guys was that you were basically, I did roll for a random encounter in that time it would take you to traverse all the way around this temple or this dungeon. And you're basically going to come to, when we pick back up, you guys are kind of walking through the halls. So we kind of have you all walking through these halls, and as you're heading back towards this final hallway where that like pressure plated floor, these walls that have, I don't know if I ever actually described that before, but like birds kind of engraved into the walls. Taryn has figured out that he can climb along the walls and get up to this fan, but can't seem to stopper it. And you can see through to where you can see these three chests at the opposite end of a pit, at the opposite end of this massive fan. But while you all are heading back to that, you start to hear sounds coming from the stairwells. And as you all are kind of approaching this, there's going to be two loud kind of clanks as these kind of massive metal claws are going to sink into like the floor and the banister right next to you guys. And I need you to roll initiative.
Oh, and one other thing I forgot to add on mention is I think when we did come back to the room to Moa with the Moa's sarcophagus, the skull that we had like shattered in the case was back to like whole, like it had never, like it hadn't happened. I think, right?
Yep, the sarcophagus was also sealed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, so as these objects kind of like latch into the banister in the floor beside you, Taryn, what would you like to do? I guess it's probably pertinent enough to recognize that you can also see that these are effectively like lines or almost grappling hooks between each of these creatures, kind of like drawn across this like area.
The grappling hooks, like, are they like chains they're attached to, or
I think chain sounds good.
this might be futile, but I'm gonna try to. Can I take out my crowbar and like try to pry one of them off?
Yeah, you can make a. Ooh. Yeah, you can make a athletics check with advantage here. I feel like this is where I'll give you the leeway before because you're the thief and you have I can't think of the name of the ability, but where you can manipulate things a little bit easier than other people. Because normally I would say it's an action to search through your backpack for something.
Okay. Yeah. You said advantage, right? Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's what the crowbar does. But like that's more like a statement to Jarek. Like if Jarek were to think like of pulling out a crowbar, he does not have the action economy without basically burning action surge.
Okay,
Right.
hitting
The
advantage.
fast hands, or yeah.
Yeah, fast hands. I feel like that sounds like the right thing. So when you like pull out this crowbar and you try to like jam it into where this like hand like claw is kind of latched into it, when you go to force into it, this thing doesn't budge in the least bit. What would you like for Quinn to do?
I think she'll just ready an action for when it seems to grab them. I think they're gonna come to us. So when they get within range, she'll swing at it. The first one to get there.
Gotcha. And then Jarek, what would you like to do?
So how narrow is this landing? Would Jarek be able to essentially try and kind of force his way past Quinn and Karen?
This is effectively um, Taryn you can move past, but Quinn you would be difficult terrain. So like to get to the other side of Taryn is what is that, 20 feet of movement basically.
Okay, I figured it would be, yeah, I figured it would be difficult. Just want to make sure it wasn't like, because if it's like it's just no room. So But yeah, so he'll move down here, kind of. He's going to draw his blade. I think he'll draw it as a. He does not have the two-handed one right yet, right?
I should be listed there. Zweinhander Greatsword. Do both of you see that your weapons are different now?
Yeah, so I'm still. So I see the kukri, scimitar, broadsy axe, short sword, cutlass, arming sword. Not seeing the Zweihander.
Do you see effectively the vampiric touch?
Oh, that's for me.
Yeah, I see the Zweinhander when I load your character with Jarek. If you just click on... Oh, it might not be set to where it's an attack. I don't know how I had to do them so they showed up as an attack. But if you go to click on it, like at in your inventory, can you see Zweinhander at the bottom? And yeah, that's what it is. I had to add. I did not do this for you. I had to add each of the different weapon types as a custom weapon. Basically, like add a greatsword, reduce its weight to 0, give it access to finesse. You know what I mean? I had to fake the weapon for each variety so that sword had an attack for each weapon. So that's my bad. I did not do it on that level. Effectively, here, I would say for this session, if you want to draw the Zweinhander right now, I would say go for just roll d20s. And then you can either on the inventory, you actually have a button that you can click that will roll the damage. 2 1s? No, 3 to 1. But like there's the button to roll for damage, but at present it's not a weapon.
Okay. Yeah. So I just reloaded, and now I see the vampiric touch. I'll do the d20s for the. But essentially, yeah, he's gonna draw the Zweihander, and yeah, he's saying the same thing with those grappling hooks. Like these things are coming, so he is going to similarly hold an attack to kind of like slash down at the first one that gets within reach. Meanwhile, Zeros is going to, assuming he's got line of sight on this one kind of to his left, is going to fire off a couple of Eldritch Blasts at it.
Gotcha.
10 and a 14.
Neither of those will. Oh wait, is that with his +6?
Yeah, for him, it rolls like, yeah.
All right. I have Storm Strongholds and Followers. I feel like we've not actually started to recognize this yet. But when they hit level 7, I think they might be at +8 to hit. You guys have fought this thing. These are high AC. They basically are humans wearing plate armor. Let me look at this real quick because I think he'll have either +2 or +4 here at this level. While I'm looking for this, though, if you reload, you should see the Zweinhander as an actual attack now. Yeah, so I'm fine if we set those up as +8, but that is still not enough to hit here. Both of those will still go wide. But effectively that they get +1 at 5th and 7th level.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I was able to just change it. I'm just gonna roll to see if that works. Okay, yep, now it's adding 8. So okay, gotcha.
And then um, both of these are about to jump across. I think for what it's worth, they're probably going to be the first one that you guys can release your attacks on from Quinn and from Jarek.
All right.
Oh, does that have one where it actually has the attack first? That was just a damage roll.
Well, the
Oh, I still have
22
to
was
code it so it shows up as a finesse too.
yeah. I mean, I can just add 3 to the attack roll for now because that's easy enough.
Okay, I got you. Make it a +4 to hit instead of the +1. It should show up if you reload. But isn't the damage even off too? Yeah, because if it's finesse, it would have your dexterity damage too. So it's a little bit different. I think it's 4 on each of those. Yeah. No, it should be 5. All right. Theoretically, if you reload, it should say +5 for each of those. If not, I need to just stop messing with it because you're loaded on it and it doesn't like that. But theoretically, if you rolled an attack with it, because that's still just damage, can you click like the left side where it's the mini sword? I feel like little. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Well, so the first one would be a 25. That
Oh,
was
okay.
for
I
the
saw Taryn cut it in half. That's what happened there.
yeah. So it would be for I guess for 13. It was 2d6 plus 6.
So the +6 there right now, like on that first one, that's 4 for proficiency, 1 for it being magical, and 1 for your strength. So +10 is correct, though, right? Like math wise, that's set up correctly.
Should probably be +9 because all the other ones are +9 to hit.
Does that include? They should have. They might not have the +1 for magical weapon added on yet. That might be what those need kind of checked into.
Okay, yeah. So it would be +8 with proficiency bonus and dexterity, and then and then +1 for the magic weapon.
Okay, so +9 is the answer. Yeah, so I messed that one up basically. Just
I think
set
it's
the
adding. Yeah, it's like it's still adding the strength plus the dexterity. Probably that's why it's one more. But yeah, so it's fine. We can do the math. But,
yeah, just make sure to set that properly. Your attack's going to hit. Chris, did you swap it over so Quinn has a +8? No, so 15 is still a miss from her. So that first one's gonna take, was that 9 slashing? And it's going to bash into uh, going for Terran here. Just kind of two massive fists coming down on you. 11, I think, will miss, but an 18 should hit you.
Yeah, 18 hits.
And then it's going to do 14 bludgeoning damage to you. The other one's leaping over, and like their hands are still kind of like attached. Like as you can see, they basically have some sort of like a mechanism in their kind of arms that these things are still attached to the like railing and this like level. They're still hanging over the edge of this thing. And then this one is going to bash into. It's going to go for Quinn. Yeah, I think this one's going to bash into Jarek because reasons. The one definitely misses. The 16 should hit with a 23, and it's going to deal 19 bludgeoning damage to you. And go back around to the top of the order for you there, Taryn. You're still kind of leveraged against this thing's fist. If you want to give it another try, it's still hanging over the edge of this area. It's probably still a viable thought, if not even better now that it's no longer standing on the stairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it one more try. So, see.
So athletics again with advantage. So when you try to lever it again, you're still not feeling any movement from this thing's claws. Perhaps you just don't have the strength to move it. Any movement, I don't know if you really would have a bonus action. I guess you could bonus action to actually essentially drop your sledgehammer comes to mind, but that's the wrong tool. Crowbar, drop your crowbar and summon your daggers.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that because I'm giving up on trying to.
Gotcha. So you can summon those up, and then it's going to go to Quinn. She's got a target directly in front of her. You got 2 attacks with her.
Yeah, and she's gonna swing both of them. Let's see.
Let me know what she rolled, because I'm kind of modifying her right now.
Um, she rolled a 16, and there's a +8 this time at least.
Okay, you set up the +8, so it's on there?
Yeah. So 16 and 15.
Yeah, so both of those are going to miss then. And that will take us to Jarek.
All right, so Jarek is going to get a bit of a second wind, kind of like from the adrenaline rush and recovering from that hit. And he's just going to keep slashing away a couple times at this one down in front of him here.
Gotcha. So technically, the one you already attacked is the one left of Terran. Are you still focused on the one that's now directly in front of you and attacking you?
Yeah, I think he would have switched it. Yeah, he would have switched his attention to the one that came after him.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the first one's going to be a hit, and that'll be that 10.
Yeah, and I'm going to make that a distracting strike.
Gotcha, so that's an extra D8 damage, and the next attack gets advantage?
Yes.
Next non-you?
Yeah. Right, yeah. Which is going... Zeros, I think, is going to... Actually, he's going to try and back up first. And
Feel like he was close enough that it's going to opportunity attack?
yeah, he was right next to Jarek, so probably, yeah, within reach.
I think that should hit with a 17. Oh wait, this is a saving throw for him. So he needs a saving throw of con 13. So he will be good as he steps away from.
And he is going to fire at the same one. Yes, I think those will both hit, but not much damage.
Yeah, they will indeed both hit.
And that will be all for Zeros.
All right, so each of these is kind of crawling up in a way that one of these will submit itself to an opportunity attack from Jarek, the one to the north.
Yep, he will definitely take that.
And then they are each going to take the shove action to try to push both Quinn and Taryn over the edge. So I need an athletics from, let's go for Quinn first. And then it's going to be an athletics from Taryn. The one Taryn wanted, I rolled first. Uh, so thankfully for Quinn, she's not getting thrown over with that 4. Meets beats, so she's good. But Taryn, you are going to get pushed 5 feet, which is going to send you over the edge, and you are going to start falling. But it is going to be your turn here. So what is terminal velocity? I feel like you're pretty much going to fall to the bottom of this in the 6 seconds of a turn. So let's go for dexterity saving throw to catch yourself at the second of these ledges, sir. I think that's sufficient enough that you can catch yourself. You are still going to fall. That is still 50 feet. So you're going to take... Making it a dexterity saving throw, I don't think you take any damage.
Oh, right, because of whatever it's called now. I always forget.
Is that only for attacks,
Evasion.
though, technically? Or is that any effect that...
When you are subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw, take only half damage, but it's only if it takes to take half damage. So, not all dex saving throws, right?
Yeah. Because it's not really a save versus half. This is falling damage. This is the save you versus falling all the way to the ground. That's where it kind of makes the difference there. I'm basically just going to rule this as outside of it. You can take half damage from the actual fall damage here, but it's not basically susceptible to the evasion because it isn't quite sitting into that. I feel like that's the weird thing of whether falling is an effect versus whether falling is simply damage. So you can take half of 19, 9 damage. You are now technically really far down these stairs. Each flight is 25 feet above the other. I think each circle, if you were to run around, I mean, you can climb up. Realistically, I think if you just started climbing, yeah, because you've got a climbing speed, it's basically 50 feet up. You're probably just like your movement, bonus action to dash, and you're back up with everybody else. Right? What's your movement speed? Is it 25?
Yeah, it's 25.
Yeah, so falling 50 feet, I think you can legitimately climb 50 feet with your movement and your bonus action.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. Try to climb up and get back into.
I think the weird spot where it could almost make sense to me, Justin, is the idea of when you watch very skilled, like, martial artists these days. What's it called? The runners, the free runners. When you know how to fall, it's pretty easy to fall and not technically injure yourself. You might end up with bruises, but you're not like breaking stuff.
Yeah, no, it's more a play, just to play on it, because you can't really, evasion, so you can't really evade the ground. But no, I definitely, yeah, there's definitely ways
Yeah.
to like
And I think that's the gray area. Effects to me is one of the key words for how it says. And then the fact that it says when it's a saving throw versus half damage, that was a saving throw versus falling all the way to the ground versus actually having a chance to catch himself. It was never versus half damage. Um, but I'm perfectly fine like giving half damage to it because of what his skills are. But yeah, you can get back up, burns your bonus action. So theoretically here, I think the way your weapons are worded now, you still have 2 attacks.
Yeah, but I don't think that's worded in the weapons I have in my inventory right now, but I think that's what you sent to me at least.
Well, I just modified all these, so if I haven't modified them correctly,
Okay, but then might be that I just have to refresh it. See.
yeah, I'm not sure. Yours don't look updated at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like I have charges now. I don't remember having that before.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. The charges. Why doesn't it tell you what the charges do? All right. I have to clarify this to figure out. My apologies, guys.
No, no worries.
I'm trying to think if it's before you use the charge or if it's after the charge, how it's worded. All right. When taking the attack action, you may immediately follow with an offhand strike as if using your bonus action. So that is meant to be a part of them. It shows up in the modifiers. I'm not sure why it's not showing up in the actual item right now. And then the charges, which again should show up in the item. I'm not sure why it's not updated. You have 3 charges. Before making an attack, you can choose to expend 3 charges or expend 1 charge and take 1 level of exhaustion, or 1 charge and 1 hit die. All of your attacks this turn can apply sneak attack.
All right.
And then they recharge at the start or at the end of a long rest.
Gonna try using 1 charge and 1 hit die.
Excellent. And which one of these would you like to attack?
Let's say the one like in the middle of it all, like between me, Yarrick, and Quinn.
Gotcha. I guess technically it would have had to move north of her. Solid hit with that one. Second strike.
And how should I roll? That should just be a like roll the bonus action still, right?
Yeah, it's still the offhand attack that shows up under the bonus. It just no longer costs your bonus action.
Yeah. So okay, then I'm rolling that.
And part of the point is if you get, Justin knows this better, I think 2 weapon fighting. If you get two weapon fighting, you no longer suffer from like not getting to apply your dexterity to that second attack. That's the only difference right now. If you get that feat, there's basically no reason to have that second attack like listed under bonus action anymore.
Yeah, and then I don't think it probably doesn't affect you, Taryn. But the other thing with two weapon fighting is you can now draw two weapons at once. But I think with your rings, that's not really an issue, right?
Yeah, it was. I tried to build it into the way it was worded to not make him suffer from that, um,
Yeah, yeah.
but also not give like the full feat in the weapon. So the first of those is going to hit. The second of those is going to miss.
I've been rolling really. Like, that first attack is that's the first time I rolled out over 10 this session, right? Yeah, I'm just happy one of them hit. It's what 29. Yeah.
Oh shit! I just did it to the wrong one.
Uh, yeah. And then Quinn is gonna hit the same one that I just hit with her two attacks.
Gotcha. You'll see is like chunks of its armor like knocked away. You can kind of see some of the like exposed flesh that almost has like rivets into it. And her second strike's going to sink in. And theoretically, are you still hanging out on the edge? Yeah, I guess that's technically your movement without expending action. So it's going to go to Jarek.
Yeah, so Jarek is having seen kind of tearing overboard, but happy to see he's climbing back up. But he's like, get away from move back from the edge. He's going to, he's going to swing twice at this guy still standing in front of him. And kind of like in the midst of doing that, he is like kind of trying to like get away from the ledge and trying to kind of use his sword to keep between himself and this thing is disengaging and moving back along the hallway this way away from the ledge. But not far, so probably about just about that far, like 5-10 feet.
Gotcha. If you guys need it, we can go back to the small or like the huge map as well. The second of those strikes is going to hit for another 14 damage to this creature.
And then I think if I get sneak, that would be another 3 with Quinn there.
Gotcha.
He disengages, moves back this way, then kind of holds his ground. Just wants to get away from the ledge. And meanwhile, Zeros is kind of as soon as Jarek clears, he's launching a couple more Eldritch Blasts right into the same creature.
Did you use cunning action to disengage, or did you just step away?
I did. I used the cunning action to
Gotcha.
disengage. Yeah. I think I'll deal 1 damage for that first Eldritch Blast. And Zeros is just kind of continuously backing up. That will be it for him.
I think the injured one is going to step away from Terran and Quinn. Make opportunity attacks with them. And it's going to hits here. Yeah, it's gonna rage into Jarek with 2 punches. I think both of those will hit. The low one, the 13, is a 20.
I'm gonna parry the first one.
Gotcha. What's that put your AC at?
No, so for the parry
Oh,
for
lowers
this
the
just
damage.
reduces the damage. So it'll
Gotcha.
reduce the damage by 8,
Yeah,
and
so
then
the
uses
first
my
one
reaction.
is for 12, is for 16. So it'll be 8 and 8 for a total of 16.
Gotcha.
And then I think the second one is moving back in to go for Terran again. Let's see if it's going to try to throw you over again. Yeah. Let me get another athletics from you, Terran. Oh, that's the one that you got it. Yeah. So it's just gonna kind of try to like basically just like fist into your chest, trying to push you over this edge, and you can just hear like the snapping of its bones, like as it's like reaching out. None of its joints like fit together properly, and it's gonna go back around to Taryn.
Well, just because I don't want to be hanging on to the edge here. Gonna move in a bit. Please like that. And then I'm gonna attack the one between me and Jarek.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think with those 2 strikes there, you're just going to be able to feel like kind of separating the spine on something like this ends up still being effective. There's certainly like magic coursing through this creature to keep it animated, but there is still a level of like the mundane skeletal still being a necessary part of this. And that creature is going to kind of just almost like crumple to the ground as it just kind of is unable to maintain itself. Uh, any other movement from you? Otherwise, attacks from Quinn?
Yeah, I'm gonna bonus action disengage to get next to Jarek instead, so I'm not getting pushed off. Then Quinn is gonna attack the one in front of her.
As she attacks, she'll notice more and more like the when she's striking out at a creature like this, like the dead flesh does not react as you would hope. Like how easily it splits doesn't seem nearly as effective as if you were doing that to something that is living. By this point, you guys can recognize these things. It benefits you to hit them with magical weapons. But that should take us to Jarek, unless you would like to move with Quinn.
And now she's probably. I mean, I don't think I could move through him, right? Oh,
It's just difficult terrain.
right. Then I'm gonna move her a strike. That yeah, so she's not in danger of getting pushed down as well.
What would you like to do, Jarek?
So Jarek is now he's going to move back into to this thing's face, slashing away again a couple times at it. And I think he's actually going to action surge, just like kind of going in a frenzy and attack a couple more times. Oh, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, those 4 strikes, only one is going to find one of the jinx in its armor. Any other movement from you? Otherwise, to Zeros.
Yeah, he's going to stay up in its face there. And yeah, Zeros is going to just continue throwing some Eldritch Blasts at it. Doesn't seem to be doing too much Uh, 16. I think that'll still miss.
Yeah, just kind of like sinks into its armor, and you just kind of see as the armor almost like dissipates the magic, and it just seems to absorb within without even like the slightest kind of hint of moving its body.
Yep. And just a quick question for clarification on the Zweinhander. Even though it's a finesse weapon, it is an actual two-handed weapon, right? Like I wield it with two hands.
I think the point of what I was trying to get across is that you can have it be a dexterity based weapon because there is no weight to the blade. But the
Okay.
actual hilt is basically a two-handed weapon.
Okay. I'm asking because one of my fighting styles, like I get an AC bonus if I'm wielding two weapons in two different hands. So that's why I just want to clarify. Like if I wanted to get that, I would need to use a different version of it, which makes sense. Just want to
I
clarify.
feel like I give you +1 AC while you're using the Zweinhander. It's kind of listed under that. That again might just be that things aren't showing up properly. Like, I don't know why the additional information isn't showing up on what you guys can see, and I feel like that's where that might be.
Okay, because my the dual wielder feat that I have, like I said, I get a +1 bonus to AC while wielding a separate melee weapon in each hand. So that's why I was asking, like, if I was able to wield that in one hand and another weapon, but
Yeah, the Zweinhander in particular, I was going for an actual dual welded, like a single large weapon. The
right,
point more on that is the actual fighting style, um, rather than that the weight necessitates it. And again, I think I kind of described it. It's meant to be there's a particular like Italian fighting manual from like the Renaissance, and it describes the use of these weapons by like one of these mercenary guards, like from when Italy was kind of separate little city states. And part of the idea and part of why it has that like interpose special ability is that the Zweinhander was like what a guard would do when somebody is trying to assassinate like a particular like like a politician or something, and it was meant to be this massive sword where you're kind of like almost spinning it like a staff between two hands, and it makes just this flurry of blades where the only place that is safe to be is directly behind the person who wields that sword. And that's why that weapon, again, I don't know if it's showing up to you. If you stand between like Taryn and then this creature, so there's a creature north of you, and like Taryn was behind you, and Taryn takes the dodge action. Taryn can gain +2 AC, and you gain advantage on all of your attacks while he's dodging and behind you like that. And it's meant to play into that sword style of basically as you start to swing, everybody around you is fucked who is not the person directly behind you.
right. Yep, I see. Yeah, so I see that in our Discord notes where you mentioned that. Um, I mean, it's a moot. I mean, the dual wielding thing is a moot point right now because he doesn't have any other weapons. So, just for like future, I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I feel like Taryn might actually still have a short sword. So there's at least something around. But yeah, no, the main idea was definitely that like it's meant to be. It's one of the cool things about lightsabers is when you start to recognize that everything about swordplay changes when all of a sudden there's no weight to the actual blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Because
why
some of
it's
the
like meant to be finesse, but the two hand is a necessary part of how you do those sword flourishes because it is all. I've played with weapons my whole life. I've taken Taekwondo my whole life. Like, to me, weapon play is kind of second nature. So I've like spun swords around me, and with like a katana with a long hilt, you can do these same kind of motions. The blade isn't just stupid long like a Zweinhander, and you can make those. It's almost like baton twirls. I feel like staves are one of the most common ways people see them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Um,
Oh, which actually reminds me, who got the kill on that creature? That was Terran who killed it. Okay. And then this one, I rolled the one. It did not berserk, and then it's gonna throw somebody over the edge. That's Terran. Terran, we're going for another athletics. It is moving back up to you, and it is trying to grapple you. Oh yeah, I got you that time. And this time it's going to. So I need 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Doesn't actually say anything about like I'm at the edge there. Is that enough that I can just drop you over the edge? I feel like no. I feel like it's basically like pushing you up to the edge, and it's preparing to drop you over the edge again. But you are currently grappled, so your movement is 0. What would you like to do, Taryn?
I would I would like to try to get out of its grip.
Gotcha. So you can do acrobatics or athletics. You are not stuck to the athletics on this. Oh wait, technically you could have done acrobatics on the grapple check. I think it's the push that it has to be athletics. Um, but that was a pretty bad roll. If you had a 5 with an acrobatics, what's your plus from acrobatics right now?
It's a +7.
That's not going to do it. So yeah, you can do acrobatics or athletics here, and meets beats. You can free yourself. Oh wait, no, mine's without the strength modifier. Mine's higher than that, so you are still grappled.
That's nothing else I can do with Terran, right?
That's your action. This is one of those things where, like, technically you've got bonus action. You could do something like using a mundane magical item, to, like, you could quaff a potion. Um, I'm trying to think if you actually have a magical item that you might want to use with your fast hands. But that's kind of what you're left with here is your movement is 0, and you've spent your main action.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. So yeah, I'm just gonna have Quinn move up behind it and attack.
So 2 more solid strikes from her for another 7 damage. And that will take us to Jarek and Zeros.
yeah, so Jarek is like shouting, hang on, hold on, Taryn. But he's continuing to slash away.
So solid strike for 15 there.
Yeah, sorry, I was debating moving, but he wants to stay close with Taryn hanging on the edge there. Yeah, like Zeros wouldn't be carrying any rope or anything, so he's just gonna continue blasting away at this thing.
There's no particular reason why he wouldn't have like an adventurer's backpack on him.
Okay, I was thinking maybe like he's not been doing much to this thing anyway, so he would essentially try to. I don't know if you can do this all in one turn, but essentially try to grab some rope and toss one end of it to Taryn.
Yeah, I think he could do like a loose toss, basically. Kind of blending that like action together. Definitely can't do anything where he's like actually tying up Terran. But yeah, I feel
Right.
like
No.
it's enough that he could kind of between a blend of free action, action, and bonus, basically throw a rope to Terran. Gives him an extra little chance to not fall.
Right. Do you want a dexterity check to see how accurate he is?
That's acceptable. Yeah. Ends up being pretty hardcore pass fail on that kind of thing. But yeah, he can get a rope out there to Terran. And this creature is going to start right away with dropping what it is holding. And Terran, you are going to start falling. Let's go for, you can do a dexterity check or a dexterity saving throw here with advantage. So let's say this one pretty much catches you right away, but because you are about 20 feet from Zeros, so you kind of pendulum still 20 feet. We'll do. Yeah, let's do 5 more bludgeoning damage, and it basically puts you. Oops, I'm on the measuring tool still. Just kind of like at the bottom of that area. Um, Maybe still kind of outside, but I feel like that kind of fits. Same idea. You're effectively, yeah, a movement away from getting back up top here with your climbing speed. But that is simply it dropping Terran. It is going to then strike out at Jarek, and it is going to try to shove you over the edge, Jarek. I want a athletics from you. I may even be using this wrong, where I think you guys might actually have acrobatics. Is your acrobatics better? That's going to be enough for you, though.
It's
It
one. It
doesn't
would
matter.
be 27 with acrobatic.
Yeah, I
One
think
less.
this is one of the first times I've used shove actions in ages. Um, but I feel like grapple always is athletics or acrobatics, and shove just uses the grapple as the start. But I don't know offhand. Doesn't matter. You rolled high enough that we jump right into Terrans. Basically, after having been dropped, you pendulum. You see as it's trying to push Jarek over, and he kind of maintains his strength, still kind of like maybe like back over the banister. This thing is bloodied. Same kind of thing where you're starting to knock off some of these like metal plates, and you can see where like this carapace is like riveted into the flesh.
All right, and just clear it. It was a movement action. Was it with or without my like cunning action?
You could move like back up to right next to Zeros without your cunning action, but to get next to it, you're gonna have to cunning action.
Yeah, then
Because
I'm
it's
gonna.
25 feet to get back up. It doesn't get you to the creature to be able to attack it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I'm fine. Then I'm gonna cunning action to the creature, and I am gonna use a charge and hit dice to make sure that this dies. Hopefully.
Gotcha. So you've got a pretty solid sense of this thing's AC. Do you want to make sure that that second attack hits, or are you comfortable with what is that like 33 more damage?
I am gonna use my. Guess I can. I'm gonna use my inspiration, and just because I can, I'm gonna go 6 because I'm not entirely sure, but 20 should hit. I hope Wait, do I still have 7 inspiration left? Trying to remember.
I had you at 12, but I am perfectly fine to leave you at 7.
I feel like I have used it something. But yeah, I'm
As
gonna
far
use
as I'm concerned, no worries. You can keep yourself at 7. That is a solid hit with both of those strikes. That will bring this creature down, where it will once again kind of deanimating, is going to fall dead.
With the with this creature falling, Jarek is going to kind of say another command word. You'll see the big blade kind of retract almost. He's going to be rooting around in his pack, pulling out a healer's kit and kind of tending to some of his wounds, and then um, yeah, and Zeros moves back up to kind of you know help kind of get the rope back in order, all that.
Any other thoughts in these initial moments of recovery as you all kind of gather yourselves?
These like grappling hooks, like these chain grappling hooks that these creatures were using. I guess Jarek would take a look and see if they seem like they could be anything that would be salvageable or usable, or if they're kind of mangled after the fight. Like I don't know if there can be like extricated from the just the creatures themselves.
My bad. I was asking for an um, investigation. I might have just been on the wrong tab.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I didn't hear, but I don't think that's yet.
Yeah, so I'd say with that kind of look over it, like the mechanism seems to almost be kind of like created into the actual arm, where it has like a sort of like uh, almost like cog and pulley system kind of setup. Um, you could take a grappling hook from the name, like in name, but it wouldn't be anything special other than just like essentially a normal grappling hook, like a mundane one from the PHP.
Uh, yeah. Well, he looked at to Taryn, and you know, is this something you think we might need? Are you good on that score?
I mean, I myself am pretty good. I can climb most things without grappling hook, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah, especially for him, like so often he can climb ahead and like tie something to instead of necessarily throwing a hook and hoping that it's going to hold for you. I feel like that's kind of a big difference. The grappling hook, the type of situations where it might come in handy is if you were trying to do like some sort of like I mean, expeditious retreat where, you're like throwing the hook over this edge and like just jumping down into the void. Otherwise, for so many cases, he's better than a grappling hook.
yeah, and he's already and Jarek's already carrying a lot, so he'll just kind of leave it be. Um,
Yeah, the whole idea for those creatures, one of the Warhammer games that I play, there's these two little halfling guys, and they both have, I think one of them maybe has the grappling hook, and he just like leaps around the board while his buddy is a sniper, and it just makes a really cool combination. I'm like, yeah, I feel like that'll make them interesting to encounter on the stairs instead of like seeing them on the stairs, and you've got like 5 minutes to shoot at them while they're trying to close the distance.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely
I
makes
didn't
them
even
like,
I didn't even think of like they could throw us off. I thought they were just gonna like grapple up just so they could reach us and then start wailing on us. I didn't even think about yeah, we're right by the edge of this like big drop here.
it's a very underutilized part of the game, to actually use pushes and shoves. And it's one of the things I feel like Chris, when we were playing towards the end of the starter campaign, when you guys were in Leyland, I feel like Chris had the charger, and that was part of what like the charger feat lets you do, is you start to like become like the super pusher, and it's one of those things like yeah, fight next to a like stairwell. I'll push you off 10 flights of stairs.
Yeah, and I was thinking too. I should want to look at the I don't know what the tripping mechanics are, but like something that like in conjunction with Terran, right? Like so if Derek can get something on the ground and let Terran pounce on it, just stab it while it's down on the ground or something. Seems like it'd be a good strategy too in certain instances.
And those are the type of things like when I talk about like if you guys roll the same initiative, like how you can gain like cinematic advantage, like doing things that like I mean realistically in that order, Terran was ahead of you, but doing those type of things when you're together makes them extra powerful, and that's why like I like the idea of cinematic advantage. Be like think of anything creative and it's just basically a cause to make you guys more powerful kind of thing.
Yeah, or like in this case, like right, have Terran essentially like duck down behind it so that it makes it easier to trip it and have it fall over the edge or something. Yeah.
Precisely, yep. But yeah, I think the trip, I think that's actually a part of the grapple shove action. I'm pretty sure when you choose the attack action, you can choose to grapple. And when you do the grapple, it can either be to like hold them or to shove them. If you shove them, it can be 5 feet or prone.
Gotcha. Okay. For some I had no reason. I don't know why I was thinking for some reason it was like a separate trip, but that sounds right. What you just said.
I'm pretty sure that's how it plays out. It's one of those things where it's kind of funny, like read the PHB a few times, but now it's already. I mean, it's probably been a year or two since I've actually read like through the PHB rules. It's kind of weird how fast like that stuff like goes by. Where it's like, huh, I could probably read those like 30 pages again and see like what kind of nuances have I like picked up on in different things since last doing that.
Yeah, especially with some of the lesser used, less common like maneuvers that people try.
Oh, precisely. That's exactly what it is, and that's part of why I was like, oh my god, they're sitting on the edge of a staircase. I do need to bust out because I was not thinking about the shove action until I first had it standing on top of Taryn, and I'm like, oh yeah, this thing has to try to push him over the edge. So you guys are kind of all set here. You've got those corpses kind of behind you. Kind of wound that rope back up, stowed your crowbar again, used your med kit, and kind of healed yourself. You still have that hall to the north that has the passage towards the last of these tomes. What sort of thoughts do you all have as you progress towards the giant fan?
Oh, yeah, I have an idea. Bit gruesome, maybe, but these corpses were pretty heavy armored. Maybe if we push them into the fan, they might clog it up? Or is that just wishful thinking?
It yes, it could work. I mean, they're certainly heavier than the Titans pittance we were trying earlier. Yeah, might be worth a shot. I don't have any better ideas myself.
Trying to figure out how to get the bodies into the fan, though. And it did pull in quite a bit force, but do you think they might think it would be enough to get the bodies moving? And they're lying on the ground?
Guess we could try. What if we tied a rope to some of the bigger pieces, essentially like kind of let it out, and then I don't know.
So I think one issue you're going to come to with trying to drag them into there to clog this is I don't think there's any reason to assume Terran can actually climb the wall while also carrying one of these things. Which means that the moment you go to move it in there, the fan is going to accelerate up. And effectively, by the time you get 6 seconds in, it is at full speed. So I think you're going to be pretty much kind of like if you go straight to dragging it in there, you're going to kind of end up being like right about there with one of these corpses as the fan's hitting like maximum speed.
Um, so I don't remember. Did the fan only seem to start accelerating when we got closer to it? I don't recall
The
exactly
pressure
how
plate
that. Oh, right,
pressure
right,
plate
right,
was
right.
right at the edge, and it's the entire floor. So Terran has essentially already kind of isolated. Like, I mean, you don't know how far, but effectively, this whole area is the pressure plate.
Right, got right. Okay.
Maybe we could like stand it up and at the edge and try to push it in, like topple it in over. I was thinking that would be very heavy actually to lift someone in armor.
I mean, and the distances between the fan blades, essentially if we tried to just like make a dash and like leap through, are they big enough openings, assuming like we take off all like the backpacks and gears and things, if we try to essentially like run and jump through before they had a chance to like the blades continue like get up to full speed.
Yeah, so effectively, I think after having like drug the first of these corpses in there and gone maybe 5 or 10 feet in before recognizing like it's already up to full speed in the time that it takes us to get kind of towards it, you would then find out that it takes about a minute for them to slow down. But effectively, yeah, you could I think reasonably understand that anybody could run and jump through it in the time that it is still accelerating, but you have at least a chance of going through. Whereas once it's full paced, you really want to let it slow down. There's next to no chance if you allow it to get up to full speed that you're not going to get hit by a blade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of, I think it's a scene from The Rock, where like going through the big fans and you have to time it like just right.
Yeah, that was his little gauntlet thing. I can't remember the
Yeah,
little
yeah.
fan part of it. I'm thinking of like all the little fire puffs and whatnot. But yeah, there's definitely a solid sense of this is kind of a weird like thing to like not necessarily start to give you guys clues, but I think that is one of the solutions that should be kind of the go-to is that one at a time haul ass down this hallway and try to leap through before they're up to full speed.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe if we get to the other side, maybe we can figure out some way to. Well, I guess if we're coming through the other side, then we just have to make sure we get far enough so that we don't get sucked back in once it. Yeah, but maybe I don't know. Maybe we're overthinking this, Taryn. Maybe we just try and get through before they have a chance to reach full speed. I'm willing to try it first.
Hey, you're more than welcome to try. I'll join you when everyone else is through.
All right. Okay, so yeah, Jarek is going to. I think he's gonna like remove his pack, kind of like leave that behind. I don't feel like leather armor would be particularly thick, but he might even take that off to essentially make himself a little bit smaller. Like anything he can do. Make sure he's kind of like trying to make sure he doesn't have anything that might snag on the blade. That kind of those sorts of preparations.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a solid sense with this. Your armor is not going to help you here.
Yeah, so he's gonna even take that off. Yeah, he's basically gonna leave everything like the staff. Um, I think he'll like lean that up against the wall or something because that's the sort of thing that can get caught. I don't think he'd be willing to. I mean, the hilt he's gonna with the blade he's gonna hang on to that, but pretty much everything else he's going to kind of leave behind. Probably take a few minutes to do all that. Give himself another minute to kind of like steel himself up, do a few like stretches almost, and then yeah, and then I think he is. Sorry, go ahead. You're going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, when you are ready to run, let me have you make a acrobatics dexterity check.
Yep. Okay. He's going to try and actually no, he's not going to. He's going to like get like kind of right up against the wall, almost like using that as a brace, and then sprint forward here.
Assuming that also means you're taking the dash action.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so as you run forward, you are indeed able to leap directly through these. As the blades are kind of spinning up, you feel almost like in the process of when you're getting closer to it, the like induction. Now the way it's sucking the air towards it almost kind of speeds you up, and you leap into it, and it's kind of assisting you through, and it feels like by the hair of your that's the wrong way to phrase it, but by the slightest little bit you are able to leap through there. You can maybe feel like a little bit of like a catch on like the leather of your boots as you kind of roll through. When you get to the other side of it, I think Taryn has already peeped through enough to recognize that there is like a ledge on the other side leading into a pit where he couldn't really see. I think it's a viable reason to say maybe you guys throw a torch ahead of you. Oh wait, that would go out. At least gives you some sort of a light beforehand. And assuming Jarek like thinks to like basically put a torch on him so you can light yourself up once you're on the other side there. But you can kind of see once you get through to this other side, unless you would like to say that you have absolutely no light at all.
I mean, I didn't think of that.
This is one of those things where I feel like on some level my job as the DM is to remind you that your adventurers do this all the time. They're not going to forget little mundane things like actually that they need to see once they get to these places, and that the fan's going to put out any torchlight. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it would make sense that you guys have to throw a torch kind of to that first, like basically in front of the actual fan. That's going to go out while you're running forward. but it also gives you enough of a sense to recognize where Terran would let you know, like, you can only go 10 feet beyond. You have to go through and then stop because there could be a pit into infinity. There could be a pit 10 feet deep. Once you get here and you spark another torch, though, to give you guys again a little fuller description, there's about a 25 by 20 foot room here. That pit in front of you is about 15 by 15, and it's probably about 20 or so feet deep. You can see that there is a monkey on top of it. Wongo is, I can't remember the actual name that they give it, the Sioux monkey, the Sioux ape. It's the Sioux something. It's definitely like a pretty vicious looking monkey, but you can recognize this as the tomb of Wongo. And then you'll also get a very solid look at the three chests that are in the back. One of them is kind of like a very smooth black steel looking. Um, Effectively, it's kind of the lava rock. I can't think of what it's called. One of them is kind of like a rusted patina steel, and then the other one is a very clean, kind of like bluish, almost like frosted steel. I think while everything's slowing down behind you, um, an actual jump to get away from like the landing zone of other people is kind of necessary. And I don't think you can get the full 10 feet running start. I guess that's a 10-foot running start. So it's just a long jump to get those 15 feet. I think as far as things go, if you do an acrobatics for me, it's effectively a don't fail. A 2+ is enough, I think, to get you across.
Yeah, he's going to do that because he doesn't want to be risk. The other people are going to be coming in hot, so he doesn't want to be like knocked off. So yeah, he'll try to make some room, and yeah, like he'll wait for the fan to kind of um, slow down a little bit again. Assuming it does, not assuming there's not he doesn't think there's any pressure plates on this side, but yeah, then he will essentially try to kind of make that jump to make some more space for the people following after him.
Yeah, I guess it calls it the corridor floor, so maybe there is a certain level where you have to like recognize you've got to leap off of it before the fan's going to start to slow. Um, I feel like that might just be poor writing. It makes a lot more sense to me that getting to this other side is a certain level of a success. But that is plenty that you can leap to the other side. And then basically, once you're on this other side of it, you can also then recognize, like, wherever you stand here, you can actually at least produce torchlight for everybody else. Um, I'd say effectively, as long as you're not like right there, like in the wind of it, you can produce torchlight for others while they're trying to make this leap.
Yeah, I would kind of stand on the side so like the light kind of goes around the corner, but the torch isn't directly in its path. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. There's definitely going to be some weird wind currents. As far as I can tell, this is the only of these rooms that doesn't actually have. I mean, spoilers, you guys can see the whole map right now. Doesn't actually have like a secret entrance or exit to it. This is the only one where all of that wind current would just make a whole lot of turbulence as far as I'm concerned. But I don't think that's how dungeon designers think all the time. So, when you are getting to this point, what kind of thoughts do you have, Chris?
Well, Quinn is gonna follow suit as it's winding down. She's gonna remove her armor and basically she's just gonna keep her sword with her. She doesn't want to go without a weapon. So she's gonna copy Jarek and dash in and try to jump through.
So when you're gonna do an acrobatics with her, I think that's just a dex check for her.
Yeah, that was what I was checking, but yeah, she doesn't have acrobatics, she just dicks.
So this is one of those things where I'm gonna give you a little bit extra of a chance. Do you want to use some inspiration to see if she can get through, or do you trust that a 19 is enough?
I mean, with that, I'm kind of doubting it, but I'm gonna try to trust that it's enough. Hopefully.
Alrighty. She's going to get through, but the blades are going to hit her, and she's going to lose 6 hit dice. That should leave her pretty sufficiently mangled at the moment here. I think she would have 2 remaining hit dice right now.
Yeah. Holy crap. Okay, so 19 was not enough. Oh yeah, and then she's gonna do the same as for try to jump, do the long jump. Let's see.
Yeah, and she can have advantage on this because she's got Jarek's help. She basically just needs to get a. That's sufficient enough for me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still sticking with the idea that it's a don't fail. So maybe with a little bit of like slip on some of the gore that's kind of still in this area, even though it seems relatively dry. There's like a little piece of beef jerky that's just we'll call it beef jerky. That's kind of like sitting there on the floor, and she slips enough that Jarek can get his hand on her and like kind of like swing her over. But it's definitely pretty close there. Yeah, actually, it might be part of Quinn that she actually tripped on. Who's going to be the next person to go? Is it Zeros?
Yeah, Terran is gonna go last at least.
Well, so Zeros saw what happened with Quinn, and she's much more athletic than he is.
He's not feeling confident?
I just want to check something real quick, actually. Yeah, I just want to check the wording of something. Yeah, that's not going to help. Yeah, Zeros he is not feeling like he can get through. He's gonna look towards Taryn. Maybe I'll keep watch here, make sure none of those more of those things, and I'll point to like kind of the remains of the creatures they killed come up. But I don't think we need all of us over there, do we?
And if you feel safer staying out here all alone, then you're welcome to stay out here. And Terran will start spider climbing on the wall basically to the other edge.
Gotcha. So you can pass through to the other side with no problem at all. Um, yeah, you don't even have to alight there. You can immediately climb down into the pit if you want to take a closer look at the actual sarcophagus. You can move straight across to the actual like normal ledge of the normal floor here. But you guys are effectively inside of the tomb of Wongo right now. Um, kind of have that same description, but do you all have any thoughts now that you're like settled on the other side and at least vaguely prepared to like recognize that Zeros is not going to come?
So Wongo is the enemy of Moa, right?
Is he?
Thought he was.
I'm pretty sure you're correct, but that's just as much me fucking with you because the module basically asks you every other day to like reaffirm.
Okay. Well, because now that Jarek is he's got the spirit of. Oh no, he left the staff behind.
Oh, you still have Mal in you though.
Yeah, so I was just I guess curious of like now that we're in Wongo's tomb, if I don't know if like Mao says anything or but otherwise,
There's occasional real notes where the gods will actually like speak to you guys and pass things on. In particular, there's nothing for this area. But yeah, like there would probably be some level of, um, like you kind of going in there and almost just feeling this like irksome kind of distaste. But yeah, Wongo and Mao are definitely enemies. But
okay.
there's nothing in particular that's kind of like written into things that delineates like that you have to hate him or that he should say this to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, yeah. So I mean, so Jarek's going to move over back towards Taryn. Um, seeing these three chests and the sarcophagus, he's gonna look to Taryn and what do you think now that we're in here? Take a look at these chests.
Yeah, we should just look them over, see if there's any writing maybe, or make clear what we're supposed to do here.
So I don't think there's any reason to necessitate a roll here. As you guys go to look over these chests, you will find that each of them is about 5 by 3. Uh, Probably about the same depth as they are wide. Yeah, so like 5 by 3 by 3. And their lids and everything seem rather smooth. They are not locked, they hinge, and you can kind of like raise the actual top of each of these chests. Each of the chests seems empty, except for on the top, on the inside, there is a mechanism that seems to hold this golden key in place. And each of these has that same mechanism on it.
I think these Taryn, I think these are the keys from the warning. These turn only from the inside.
Okay, Taryn is gonna, like, when it's open, like, try to turn it from the inside, I guess, like, with it open. If
When
anything
you go
happens.
to try to move the key, it's held in place. There's no way to budge it.
Does it want us to be literally inside it as we turn it? I mean, I'm not completely comfortable climbing into a chest and trying to turn it from the inside.
Hmm. Um, the Jarek is going to reach into the chest that's this red chest and just kind of um, like feel around on like the try to feel around on the bottom, see if there's any like almost like knocking, see if there's any sort of like false bottom or anything like that.
Good roll of perception. The ring from the bottom might sound like a little bit denser than like the sides, but I feel like that kind of accounts for it sitting on the floor. But otherwise, it seems like it's just a chest.
Hmm. Um, Maybe Taryn, maybe there's something on the sarcophagus that.
Yeah, I'll climb down and take a look. And Taryn will climb down and just take a look all over the sarcophagi and just see if he finds anything.
So you can see this is like a stylized version of Wongo. He seems to be like kind of like a golden figure that sits atop this crystalline sarcophagus. It seems to be almost made out of like a like crystal sort of like stone, not necessarily like metallic like the other ones. But otherwise, kind of looking over it, um, doesn't really seem to have anything. Eventually, trying to move its lid or anything doesn't budge.
Need some help, Taryn?
I mean, the lid isn't budging right, but doesn't seem to be anything else down here either. No clue for the chest. We could try something. He's gonna climb up again. I'm not really comfortable being in the chest, but I could try climbing into one. Said the keys turns from the inside. Maybe we have to close it. I mean, in case it could be trapped. And Taryn is gonna check out like the red chest, try to see if he can find any trap, like if it anything that may. And how to describe it? Like, how would you see if it locks something inside if you're inside of it?
I don't know how much you remember your Oblaka card, but I would say when you say it could be trapped, you would have a sensation from Oblaka that kind of reminds you everything about this place is a trap. It's
Yeah,
not a
that's
question of is it could be trapped. You guys know you are inside of a trap.
that's basically why he's so cautious. Because I remember the card, like he doesn't really want to get in there. He still has like the part of him that wants to solve things, but he just doesn't. Like everything is trapped, and he knows that something is gonna happen if he gets into that chest or any of the chests.
Roll an investigation for me. I would say you can tell at least from the nature of this mechanism that's holding the key that you're probably safe to get into the chest, but whatever it takes to move the key is likely to lock you inside of the chest.
I'm not doing that. So I explained it to Jarek. Like, I'm not getting into that if that locks me inside. Do we even need anything from here? It's just Wongo. We already have two others. Do I know about? I forgot. I know about Moa, right?
Yeah, at this point, you guys have basically seen like the spirits of each of these animals. Like as you picked up the object that kind of matters, you basically would have seen like as those spirits kind of inhabit each of you.
Yeah, with that would be kind of like. I mean, we already have like two of them, but don't really think we need to gather all of them.
believe remember if we had like Jarek had specifically agreed to try 3 others when they may need their help to deal with the greater threat, the soul monger.
Ah, fuck. Like, which is the bigger threat, going into the chest or the soulmonger? Ah, mm,
If we give any string, Taryn, twine, something. But if we tried to loop something around the key, close the lid, and manipulate it from outside?
no, sorry, no string, no twine. The only closest thing I got is a rope. I think that's a bit too big. I mean, I guess you could like take a bit from the rope to make a string.
Feel like at some point you guys kind of made string when you were doing one of the bell tricks to try to sleep in Omu.
Yeah, essentially, kind of almost like picking off like strands of some rope. Um,
Yeah, I feel like you guys, I mean, theoretically, you should have noted what you did there because I think you cut one of your ropes to make that happen as is. So theoretically, you should have like notes of that. But for what it's worth, you can have some string here, and you can certainly try.
yeah, because I have one of my the well, I would have left the rope back. Um, I not carried it with me, but I have so I have like 40 feet of rope. So I think we ended up essentially using 10 feet of it, essentially cutting it off and then fashioning it essentially into like kind of rough string. Um, I think Jarek is going to call back to Zeros that we need one of our coils of rope or need a length of rope, and going to
I
ask
mean,
Zeros.
sorry, Terran should have a rope on him. I mean, even if he doesn't have his backpacks, he still carries like a coil of rope with him that he can like carry with him as he climbs.
Oh, okay. So maybe we try that. Maybe we can cut off a length of that, try and fashion it into kind of rough string. Essentially, loop one end around the key, close the lid, and then try to manipulate the key from the inside without us actually climbing into it. Don't know if it'll work, but if you don't want to climb into the chest, that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
And we can try. Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, so Jarek will try to use the kind of slice off a length of rope. I think it was like we like 10 feet last time. And just try and essentially pick apart some of the or cut off some of like the smaller strands and try to actually craft some improvised like kind of thinner twine. Um, and then I guess with the lid of the chest open again, try and tie a knot um, around like the
My bad. Continue.
it's like tie one end of it around like the key, like the I don't know exactly what it like if it looks like a regular key with like a um like the teeth and
It's
then
perfectly fine for it. Well, see, part of the thing is you guys only see the back part of the key, but I think it's perfectly fine for that to have something that you could potentially tie to. Um,
yeah, and yeah, so essentially tie one link to that, close the lid back down, trying to be careful not to sever the string if you can, and then essentially yeah, try and kind of manipulate it and turn it using the string. Might be a lot of trial and error.
so I think this is one of those times where it's not a solution, but I'll give it a chance at working. Um, Extremely low chance. And this is going to be like just a one-time shot, whether this will ever work. So if you would like, you can certainly do this. Loop the key with the string and try to use the mechanism to put a little bit of like centrifugal force on it to try to pull it around. And I think a 3% chance is what came to mind. So you can roll a D100. You need a 1, a 2, or a 3. So when you shut the case and go to pull, there's no movement from the key.
Yeah, well, that didn't work, Karen.
And I'd say on some level, like it doesn't have to be something you record. By the time you're like really trying to like give it some strength, you'll kind of snap the string and kind of recognize that it's not simply that you weren't like trying hard enough. Like the string eventually failed, but you never felt any play in that key.
Yeah, yeah.
While we wait for him, one of the things that I was also thinking about is I did tie leveling into these guys. I feel like that's one of those meta things that there's a certain level of you can recognize like the different experience still helps. Um, but like if you skip a tomb, that's kind of like taking a level off of what you will have for the end game.
Yeah, that's kind of what Jarek was thinking. Like Jarek was thinking, kind of like we might need probably need all the help we can get. If this danger of the soulmonger is as dire as he's thinking. And it could may also be yeah if we find something that's more I don't think he wouldn't know that there can only be like one god per person, but yeah, so that's why he's leaning towards trying to figure this out if we can. I know. I mean, the only other thing I could think I was thinking was so okay. So Taryn tried to move the lid, but I remember the other lids were very very heavy. So you know, first thing to try is just maybe have a couple of us climb down there and try to see if we could do anything with the lid. Um,
Yeah, just because of things and for the sake of time, even with the three of you down there, you can't move that lid.
okay, so yes, I got to figure out the chests.
Yeah, hello, I'm back.
Part of what we were just talking about is like if you guys had all three of you go down there to where Wongo's sarcophagus is, the three of you combined cannot move or budge even that lid. And then one of the other thoughts was that I had was to kind of remind on some level you guys can recognize like the experience of saving the gods is in itself something that will assist you in the end game of fighting like the soulmonger or whatever you have ahead of you. And what that is in meta knowledge is your leveling is on some level tied to exploring and finding the solution to their tombs. That doesn't mean that if you guys do decide to skip one that you can't like succeed at the end, but it does mean that you're almost like, I don't know, in a weird way, potentially willfully making yourselves weaker.
Okay, so I was just reading the warning again. It says the keys turn on the inside only. Maybe we need to try and turn all the keys at the same time. We try that because I think before Taryn, you just tried to turn the one. Maybe it's like like the nuclear launch codes, right? You have two keys and you have to turn them both at the same time to activate them.
Yeah, I mean we could try. Bird.
Seems like I don't know. There's three chests, so seems like I don't know. Maybe there's something need to be like in unison or sort of. And we could try it. The only other option is, I guess Jarrett could try and climb inside and do it. But I think maybe we try that first.
So right now, open lid, turning the three keys.
Yeah, I think that's yeah.
Gotcha. So all three of you will find that same mechanism is preventing the key from moving.
And it's in like either direction, right? Like any direction just won't budge.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you try to climb into a chest, yeah, I'm Terran's just gonna go back to his backpacks and take the crowbar and get back here. It's just in case.
All right. Well, yeah, if I start screaming, try and get this thing back open. I don't really like tight spaces.
Yeah, I know. I know. Uh, Thank you for your sacrifice.
All right. Yeah, so Jarek is he's gonna climb in. I think 5 by 3 he could he might have to like kind of go and like kind of scrunch himself up, but he could probably maybe fit in or contort himself a bit.
Going for the rusty chest, the one you're like right by.
Oh, are they in different conditions?
Yeah, so there's like an onyx black chest that's in front of Quinn, a rusty steel chest that you're in front of, and then kind of like a bluish metal that Taryn is in front of.
Okay. Of these materials look similar to any of the materials on the sarcophagus?
Like Wongo sarcophagus is almost like it's a golden like Sioux monster on top of it, and then the like actual sarcophagus itself is almost you call it crystal, and I'm very tempted to say crystal is in like clear stone.
Gotcha. Okay.
So roundabout way, these are four different materials.
Right. Yeah, we haven't. I don't think we've come across anything suggest one of these chests is any particular material. Chris, unless you can think of something I'm forgetting.
No, I mean, not anything that I can think relate to this at least.
Maybe I'll try the black onyx chest. Did the when we opened the lids, did they all seem fair? Did they any of them seem more difficult, like more like tougher to pull open, or were they all fairly well, I guess I have to individually go to each one and do that to test.
I think in the long run, looking over the three, like you doing it yourself since you're the one about to go about this. Um, Opening each chest, looking at each mechanism, they all seem pretty much equal. I don't think there's any reason to like recognize like one is more dense or like more weighty than another. And like it's essentially the same mechanism inside that like prevents the gold key from moving. And also from what Taryn has explained, seems to lock it upon being shut.
Right. Yeah, before Jarek does it, he's gonna just like to Taryn and Flynn. It may be that we may each need to like, climb into a different chest, open it from the inside. Recall the Temple of Crocodile and Man, where we had to have use teamwork was part of the test. Think you're up for that, Taryn?
I feel like those are two completely different things. Like Temple of Crocodile Man had the legend that hinted of. You know, this is this is Wongo, the Sioux monster. Wasn't he trying to remember? Wasn't he like a trickster or something? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Thinking there must be a reason there's three chests here.
I think you all would recognize that these 9 gods are all called the trickster gods. They're the gods who like tricked the Omawans away from Omu. Or wait, shit. Is that the wrong god? Damn it, now I can't even think of it.
So
Obtoa, there we go. Fucking O's. I knew Omu. I'm like, that's a location.
Well, all right, I'll try this one, but Aaron, it may be that we're going to need all three of these, so need to know you're willing.
be completely honest, no, I'm not willing to go into an well, an obvious trap. Don't know. It seems too dangerous.
So then I think the question becomes, can you convince Quinn and Zeros?
Yeah, Jarek is he's gonna give a little bit of a strange look to Taryn, kind of like just like a shake of his head. But then he's gonna call Zeros. It seems we may need you after all. Zeros, not enthusiastically, but he will try to run to kind of same thing, join the others.
So, acrobatics from Zeros. Are you comfortable with a 16?
Uh no. I am gonna use up I think I have 4 inspiration. Um I'm gonna use those to give him a 20.
I've got you at 6. Do you think you need more than 20?
Uh I'll use 5, give him a 21, and then I have 1 inspiration left.
I feel like we should have discussed this before making you roll for Zeros, but Chris, can we convince Quinn that she'll help?
Yeah, I don't think Quinn would have too much reservations about doing efficiency.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah, that makes sense. He would have made sure that. Yeah.
So theoretically, if all three of you have to be locked in at different times, you've got all four of you over there now.
So Jarek will offer to, it's his idea, so he'll try it first. So he will move to climb into the onyx, the black chest. I guess if he can, it's smooth lid. I don't know if he can close it himself, or if not, maybe he'll have Zeros come over and close it. Kind of once he has like a grip on the key.
Say on some level, like the weight of it certainly helps. You definitely have to find like the right way to like adjust your body. Because I do think you're about like 6 foot, so you're a little bit too tall. You have to like, still kind of scrunch up a little bit. But like the actual mechanism, I almost think of it as kind of like the inside of a bank vault, where there's like almost two rotating like, or like four like pinions. So as you rotate the center thing, it looks like these four blocks will kind of like slide into place, like top, bottom, right, and left. So it's like there's plenty of stuff to grab onto for you to pull the actual top shut. But when you climb in, make enough space for yourself and start to bring it shut. When you bring it down shut, you're going to hear a little click.
I'm going to try and hold my breath, close my eyes, remembering what happened back out at the entrance, but then try to turn the key.
When you turn the key, there's going to be another loud, and I need you to make a Constitution saving throw. So you preserved right now one inspiration. Are you comfortable with an 11? Do you think a 12 would make it any different? Do you want to use that inspiration?
Don't really think it is, but I might as well use it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'll make it a 12.
When you shut the door, you hear that initial kind of click. That frees up the key. The moment you hold your breath, you close your eyes, you prepare for this poison to kind of cover you. You spin the key with no resistance. You hear the slamming of these four bars as they lock the chest shut around you, and immediately you feel your body just crushed by massive amounts of force. You are about to take 86 damage. Are you still conscious?
No, he's unconscious, but it's not a kill. He's not dead.
Au contraire. Inside of the chest, Jarek disintegrates into ash.
Oh,
Jarek
okay.
is completely dead. If you ever want to resurrect Jarek, he's like now needs true resurrection to create a new body for him. When you all hear from the outside the click or like the whoosh, then the loud click, you'll see at the sarcophagus inside of the pit as a black onyx button kind of like shows up at the top of the sarcophagus next to Wongo's head. So, as an initial thing here, I don't mean to make light of Jarek is very much dead here. When it comes time for it, we're going to introduce another character for you, or you guys can eventually decide like to kind of halt things. But I feel like this is a meat grinder campaign. You guys are 100% into the point where any given decision that you guys do, from super mundane stuff to things that you know are dangerous, like climbing into these, can kill your characters. So this is 100% where I should have actually warned you guys, like, think I've done a pretty good job warning over and over, but you need to kind of have like multiple characters in mind and almost ready to go. You don't necessarily have to push Zeros up to your main character, but he'll at least be your main character until we have you create another one here. But when the three of you outside hear this all happen, you would probably hear a few moments of like screaming in pain from within that chest before it goes completely silent inside and you hear nothing.
Yeah, so I think Zeros would move to kind of throw open the chest once he started hearing the screaming.
The chest is locked shut. You cannot open it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. We dare press that button that just showed up.
Yeah, I think Terran would climb down, like hearing that scream and seeing Saracen not being able to open it. He's probably gonna climb down and push the button, see what happens.
When you climb down, you push and depress the black onyx button, and it's going to kind of like basically I'd like to say like depress flush with the top of it, but there's still an onyx button there where there was not one before. And you'll hear up above as there's a loud clink, and Zeros would be able to open the chest and looking inside see nothing but ash. Sorry, I lied. I assume Jarek had his sword on him. The hilt of Mago Ibarnast would be inside of there. Everything else would be turned to ash.
Gotcha. Yeah, Zeros. Yeah, he would. He, he would kind of let out like a little low moan, but then kind of looking towards Taryn and Quinn, and just kind of just like kind of lower and shake his head. That it seems was not the right move. But he would move to recover the hilt, and I think he would actually also, being kind of a warlock, um, move to try and gather up as many of the ashes as he could and like put them away in like a little vial or something.
Yeah, I think pretty regularly, like when a potion is consumed, there's no reason to say that you just throw the vial. I like to imagine on some level, most people at this point have some level of like pack it in, pack it out kind of thing. Like you've got extra vials you could fill with ash.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, maybe even doing like a makeshift bag or it's one of those mundane things I don't think people think to like buy when you're in towns, but getting extra little sacks. But yeah, you could pretty much write down however much or little ash. God. We're not going to take like any time to mourn Jarek. Otherwise, it's going to end this session, is how this kind of plays out. So I'm sorry about this, but you can record as little or as much ash of Jarek as you would like.
Yeah, no, and yeah, no. For the record, I mean, you've been very clear that, and yeah, we knew what we were getting into. So, uh, yeah, so okay, so Zeros will, it's like, well, obviously we can't try that with these other two.
Yeah, Terran will be like, yeah, no, definitely not.
How heavy are the chests? Like, if we tried to push one, like turn it or move it off these, are these like actual little like pedestals or plinths that they're on?
I don't think you can actually budge them in the least bit. Before you kind of check to see if there was maybe like a hollow bottom or signs that they have a trick bottom. But I think when you go to actually move them, you're going to find in a. I mean, you're Zeros now. He's got at least like an arcane like focus. I think there can be a recognition that, like many things that you guys are dealing with here, there's magical components to these things just as much as like physical properties. And these things are, this room is almost like magically stagnant. Like, yeah, these things are pretty much fixed to those areas.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like having a wizard or something would be helpful, sort of place. Uh, but yeah, I think Zeros is going to probably should listen to Aaron. I guess you were right to be a little more risk averse than the rest of us. At least we didn't try to do it all at the same time.
But yeah, that would have been disastrous.
Well, I don't think it's how Jarek would have wanted to go, but nothing to be done now. Perhaps we leave this place well enough alone.
I think it's better to just get out of here and see if we can't find somewhere else to be than here.
Can I have you guys roll intelligence checks, please?
Yeah, I didn't actually prepare a sheet for Zero, so I
Oh
didn't
no,
have a
yeah,
film.
you're good. That's part of what I mean. Like, there's some level where I feel like I should have like warned you guys a little bit more that we almost need like multiple adventurers. I think we kind of had like the start of the talk where we're like, at some point we have to decide like you're probably not going to survive with the characters you have now. I think I had that level of the conversation. But I feel like what it realistically comes down to is if you, the players, want to complete this mission, we're very much going to turn this into a meat grinder where you're going to have deaths relatively regularly. This is back to very much like Dungeon of the Mad Mage, where there are old school D&D things where certain things simply say that character is dead. Um, so I'm going to throw it out there. The four of you, now three, have experienced the resetting of Mao's tomb, where things that you did previously seem to have gone back as if you guys were never there. You guys just watched Jarek die. At least Zeros should recognize that if you guys leave here, Jarek may have died for absolutely nothing. And I don't think Terran's 12 is far off from being able to say that. But often when I'm asking for certain tests, the idea is to have the idea be the person who rolls the highest. Not necessarily like a specific DC, but just to see who rolls the highest.
What if we try putting something else in the chest? We won't be able to turn the key, but I don't know what Jarek did inside, but
I don't think it's unforeseeable for you all to recognize that there was the actual like initial kind of like whoosh like type of click. And then Jarek could have easily still been kind of like speaking to you all, like, all right, I'm gonna try to turn the key now. Like holds his breath, closes his eyes and everything. Like for those two moments of the two different clicks, the second being the loudest of them, that led to his then screaming. I don't think it would be hard for you guys to pick up there. But there's a certain recognition that the body inside is part of what unlocks the key to be moved.
Gotcha. Okay. But the would Taryn have noticed, or would anybody have noticed when, like, did the button show up not until this after the screaming started, or like with that second whoosh?
Let me have a perception from you, Taryn. I feel like that's a solid, like, right between what I was looking for to really notice. I'm not sure Taryn was really staring down into the pit. I feel like with his level of concern, 15 to me is too low to say that he was ignoring, like, that that Jarek just climbed into one of these chests. Um, but you're welcome to interpret it how you would like, Chris, because again, that's kind of right in between. Were you paying attention to the sarcophagus to look for changes, or were you more concerned about Jarek at that point?
To be completely fair, he would be more concerned with Garrick at that point, the chest thing. Like,
Yeah. So as far as I think we agree there, I think Taryn would have noticed the button soon enough. But at this point, not have a solid decision without basically you guys recognizing somebody can perhaps climb into one of these chests and see if something changes before the button appears. But I think it's kind of on that verge of recognizing, like Jarek said, "All right, I'm going to turn the key," and then that's like at some point thereafter that the button arrived, but not necessarily knowing when.
And the only other thing I can think is if we keep open the lid of the chest, stand in it, turn the key, and leap back out without actually closing the lid on us ourselves.
Jarek got into the chest, and it wasn't until he closed the lid that you guys heard that initial sound. That's almost part of why I feel like it would make sense for him to kind of narrate his then action, because that first sound was simply him closing the lid. Something happened. Um, and again, I feel like even with those intelligences, maybe you guys can even recognize that. But that's up to you, like how much you actually want to play into it. But on some level, the mechanic was if somebody's inside closing the lid, when that lid closes, the key can then be turned.
Gotcha. Okay. And do we have any sense of how long it was between when essentially Jarek said he turned the key and when he started screaming?
I think that would be pretty much instantaneously. Maybe whatever viable pause that you think, like somebody who's aware what they're doing is dangerous, is like in the process of, all right, I'm about to do it, and then like click and screaming.
Gotcha.
You guys want to climb in with Quinn or Zeros?
I am debating whether Quinn would into a chest if someone just died.
And that's why I think it's important for you all to recognize that at least the last time you guys left one of these places, it seems to have been reset in the time that you were gone. But Mao's is the only one you went back to. You've like not gone back to um, Ubalaka's recently.
Yeah, but it seems logical if one resets, then the other can as well. Having Garrick basically sacrificed for nothing and having to go back and do this again wouldn't be good.
I mean, the only thing I can think is that one of these chests is not trapped. We have to pick the right one, and the black one was the wrong one. But I just can't recall coming across anything that might suggest which of the remaining two is the right, the non-trapped one.
Yeah, me neither. We have onyx rust then. Yeah, now Quinn's gonna be pretty fearless. If he's gonna offer that, if we want to keep going forward, she can go into next chest, see if what happens. There's a 50-50 chance that if like there is one right, then maybe there she can get the right one.
And if we had to pick one, I would say try the red one, because try the rusted one, because a trickster god, like, does it, I mean, the other two look like in nicer condition, right? Like, is this kind of
On
how
some level,
much
yeah.
more?
It's kind of a weird thing, but on some level, rust also protects steel. Once there's like a rusted patina, like it actually stops the rust from, in some ways, going further. But yeah, the other two, effectively, it looks like that would be kind of their finish.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know, maybe it's like because these are, like the others is a trickster god, so maybe, um, yeah, I just don't know, but
I don't remember the full logic behind it, but there's also one of the things about when you're given 3 doors to choose from, if you pick the initial one and then change your decision to another door, you actually have better than 50% chance odds. Like your odds get better when you change. I don't
yeah,
remember like the full.
it's the Monty Hall problem, I think, or the let's make a deal issue.
Yeah, let's make the deal sounds like the right one where there were like 3 doors they could pick from.
Yeah, and it's like, like this, people are adamant. It's like, no, it's still a 50 like, you pick, you pick one door, and then they open one of the other doors and tell you, and they open one of the wrong doors. So then now, like, intuitively you think, okay, now I've got a 50-50 chance, and it doesn't matter. I still got a 50-50 chance if I stay, or a 50-50 chance if I pick the other one. But it's actually, I
Yeah,
don't know all
because
the
you had
math involved.
33% on that first pick.
Right. So it's actually, yeah, you're actually
Yeah.
improving your odds if you change to the other one.
So this really does play out on that level the exact same way. If you guys had 3 choices to find the right one before, you now know one of the wrong ones. So theoretically, your next choice should kind of have higher odds. It wouldn't be exactly the same percentages, but that kind of plays out. And then one of the other things is to like take it back to the warning from Asarak. You guys do see, or Sararak, you guys do see the final line of it says the keys turn on the inside only. It's not a reference to a single key. So I understand if you guys play into the idea that one of these might be the ones, but at very least in that warning, it's still telling you multiple keys, which I think plays into all 3 of them might be the solution.
Yeah, someone would suggest maybe it's just a particular order rather than a particular chest. Or it is actually that you have to climb into 3 at once, but obviously that's a very high risk proposition.
Well, like the Onyx button is still there. On some level, you did something to Wongo's sarcophagus. You just don't know what it is yet.
Right.
Yeah, well, if you want to go for it, Quinn is ready to jump into the busted chest.
Gotcha. So, assuming she climbs in, takes some time to kind of like get herself situated inside of there, and slowly brings down the lid on top of her. Kind of the same idea. When she gets the lid closed and kind of like is snug enough that it's like actually closed on top of her, you'll hear that initial click. Just kind of like a
Okay, now Zeros wants to look at the sarcophagus and see if anything's changed.
nope, sarcophagus looks the same. You still see the onyx button is depressed. Otherwise, the rest of the sarcophagus still looks, um, yeah, looks pretty much the same. Where it's that clear crystal with a golden Wongo on top.
And Taryn, you checked, you didn't see any buttons when you checked the sarcophagus before, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't find anything. Those are new. Yeah, Quinn is gonna take a deep breath to like steal her nerves, and then she's gonna turn the key.
So while you all are kind of like looking over at the chest or at the sarcophagus and trying to see like, did you guys notice were the buttons there before? I'm just gonna out of nowhere here as that same loud kind of click happens and you kind of recognize like she just turned the key. There's going to be a kind of rusted patina button that just kind of like pops up right next to the onyx button, right next to Wongo's head on the sarcophagus. And you can see that this button is raised and lifted. Quinn would probably be pretty surprised inside to feel she's perfectly fine. Nothing theoretically seems to happen. But I am curious, did Quinn climb in with her armor on? Did she have her sword with her? What metal objects did she have with her?
In the armor she left on the other side of the fan, but the
That's
sword she
fortuitous.
did have.
She no longer owns a sword. Any metal objects that were inside of that chest with her have rusted and disintegrated.
Ah,
When you switched chests, Justin, me, the person who has played in multiple campaigns with you, really wanted to yell to you, no!
okay. Because now, okay, the rusted chest, rust stuff. The black chest, which is basically the color of like burnt stuff, disintegrates whatever is inside. That's a sense I'm getting.
It's definitely going to get you guys closer there. Eventually, theoretically, you have Terran climb down to the sarcophagus and press the red button. You will release Quinn, where the lock will come open, and she'll be able to open the lid and step out of that chest. But yeah, she'll have no metal on you, and you guys can now recognize like you've got two buttons depressed on the sarcophagus. You've got the like silver blued chest to go, somebody still has to go through that process. Um, and yeah, you definitely have a sense of like charred. Um, I was kind of thinking black, like death, is a pretty solid recognition, but yeah, like you kind of have that recognition at this point here. You found another rust trap on this level.
And then I don't know. So the silvery blue one, I'm thinking either is water or I don't know what that one might be, but it seems like it's going to be something else, something different. Taryn, any ideas on what you think that sort of trap that color or that material might signify?
It's kind of bluish. I think you're on the right track with water. Hopefully. But who wants to go into the next chest?
I suppose Zeros can.
Doesn't really feel fit. Do you want to flip a coin for it?
Well, if you don't think it's fair, by all means.
I'll be risk averse, but seems kind of like a dick move to. Derek's already did. Yeah, Terran is.
Terran's fighting between Obalaka telling him don't do it and the idea of actually being fair.
Yeah, Terran's gonna climb into the chest this time. But before he closes it, he's gonna uh, be look out for the button and try to press it as soon as it gets up. Hopefully, I can get out before anything too bad happens.
Uh, Understood. And Zeros will move to kind of climb down into the pit.
So Terran can climb inside. It's much easier for you to get your full body in there. So pretty much as quick as it takes you to climb in, you can, whenever you're ready, shut the actual lid with little fanfare involved. But when you shut the lid, you'll hear that similar like initial swoosh and kind of freeing of the keys movement.
Yeah, and Terran isn't gonna give himself time to think on this. As soon as he hears that the key is ready to move, he's gonna turn it.
And when you turn the key, can I have a Constitution saving throw from you, please? Does 14 feel good enough to you?
No, it does not. So I'm gonna use my one I have left and bump it to a 15.
Conveniently enough, meets beats. 15 is indeed the DC. And when you close it and shut this case, click over the key, you are going to feel a massive blast of cold that just like sinks down into your heart and your chest and kind of like pushes through your body. And you feel, let's see, yeah, I think just this initial kind of blast of cold, it almost like chokes your breath. Perhaps you were preparing to hold your breath, waiting for water to happen, and you never feel it, but there's just this quick blast. You're going to take, what is that, 41, so 20 points of cold damage. Um, I think you'll be perfectly fine stepping out with 20 points as Zeros hits the third button, like almost immediately. Um, on some level, it's up to you, Taryn, like if you scream or anything when you do get blasted by the cold. But I imagine like stepping into a super cold shower, there's almost like that loss of breath just as much as you're like screaming from the cold. But it's going to be a quick moment where Zeros hits the button. And Zeros, you will see as you press this third like bluish like silvery button that like pops up next to Wongo's head. As you press that immediately, you'll hear like the click of the chest up above, just like the other two before. What you're going to see is this clear crystal is going to. I think I described it wrong the first time. I think it was supposed to be stone, but I'm going to basically say is the clear crystal reveals that inside of it you can actually now see the skull of a Sioux monster and all of the bones inside, and you can see that this like Sioux monster is like mummified. You can see like the wraps kind of around this body, and around like the skull of this creature, and it's kind of sitting at rest with a like almost like a three-pronged mace, like with three heads to it. And you can see that they're all little like monkey skulls, almost like yelling and screaming, like, and they're all just kind of like sat up right next to it. Just kind of like three different skulls, like on three different chains that like extend from this mace that sits right beside Wongo's skeleton.
Yeah, so Zeros is gonna he'll call out, wait, for Karen. Hopefully, kind of wait for him.
Yeah, and Terran is gonna climb out shivering in the cold the chest and get down to Sarah's. Ooh.
And then Zeros will kind of point out like what they can see now, and then kind of ask Taryn, like give Taryn a little bit of time to kind of warm up a little bit, and then ask for his help to try and move, open the lid up, and Quinn, I guess, as well.
Yeah, Quinn can also go down. See, so help push.
All right, so as you all get down there and go to push the lid, you can, yeah, I think between the three of you, you can all start to slide it off. And as you start to move it, you're going to see as Wongo is going to start to like twitch. And I need you guys to roll initiative. Roll an initiative with advantage because I want to make it tricky and difficult for you all. And my advantage roll was a 7. So theoretically, Quinn does not have a weapon right now. Theoretically, there's also an artifact that's kind of floating around here that's a really badass sword. Don't think there's any reason to say that Quinn isn't gonna get handed that item. So for what will kind of progress here, I don't think there's an easy way to like give you access to it other than just telling you which dice to roll to attack with it, kind of thing. But that's kind of what we'll move forward with, I feel like, to give her a weapon. I will remind you guys that theoretically you're all unarmored right now. I think everybody took off their armor.
Not
Maybe
Terran.
not Zeros, not Terran as well. Gotcha.
I think Zeros would have. He would have followed the example of Quinn and Jarek. He was also wearing, I guess, looks like studded leather. No, he's wearing medium armor, so he definitely would have taken it off. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things where, like, even like with like Quinn, heavy armor in this place is pretty much guaranteed death by exhaustion. You can't actually adventure in Chalt and wear heavy armor. You need somebody to constantly cast um greater restoration might be lesser restoration on you if you were to actually wear heavy armor day in and day out. It's one of the reasons why, like, I made the point to tell you guys at the start not to create people who are using the heavier armors. But it was also one of the things where it's like, for sidekicks, I don't want to worry about it too much. But like the heat in Chalt will kill you if you try to daily wear heavy armor. You need to take off days to like clear that exhaustion. But yeah, as this like little monkey kind of starts to like twitch, and you start to see as its muscles and its body is starting to move, Zeros, what are you going to do?
I think Zeros kind of a bit definitely taken aback by as this thing starts to move. I think they're kind of like stuck here in this pit, so he's just going to essentially throw out his hands and try to blast it as it's kind of twitching.
Gotcha. A couple of quick Eldritch Blasts on some level, technically they're at a disadvantage. On some level, you're in a weird aspect where you don't necessarily have the full abilities of your character right now. But you will find even disadvantage right now. You rolled well enough for each of those to hit. It's going to blast into this creature for 13 damage. And it will go to Terran.
Yeah, and I do think once, Zeros has no use for he knows it's a powerful weapon because he's seen Jarek using it, but he has not something he's going to use. So, especially after Quinn lost her sword when she came out of the rust thing, yeah, no reason he wouldn't have handed it to her and essentially, kind of honor Jarek by wielding it well or something like that.
So no pressure. Oh, sorry. Hmm. Um, it's Terran's turn, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, just make sure that I am not jumping in ahead. Let's see. Then Terran is gonna get out his knives and try to attack the sumos. It seems to be easier than the heavily armored ones, at least.
Yeah, like realistically, I think, yeah, because all of you were down there to push it. When you all climbed down there, you would have had the same view as Zeros, where like it's very clearly just like a set of bones that are wrapped in fabric, and it's not until you move that chest or move the actual top of the sarcophagus that it starts to move. Both of those will hit, dealing 25, 34, 41 damage.
What did you say?
41, 22, 25, 34, and then 7 from the second hit. 41.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. I just thought it sounded a bit too much, but okay. Yeah.
It always sounds like too much with the rogue. But you're gonna go right past like any level of like bloodied state and go directly into this thing looks pretty ravaged and pretty weak. Make your attack with Quinn. For right now, I don't see any reason why the attack roll. I guess it would be +1 higher than what she had before. So if you just make her normal rolls, it should just be +1 to hit. So both of those will hit. And then the Zweinhander's 2d8, I believe. Oh, wait, it should be a great sword. Did I just write that down wrong when I said 2d8? I think that's the right damage. It's just +1. So she'd be doing, 25 more, or 24 more. That should still be a kill. Yeah, so I think in like the time it takes this thing to kind of come to, you all are close enough and ready enough that you're able to kind of like with these initial attacks seem to kind of like remove the life from this creature, where it goes like stagnant again inside of its sarcophagus. You guys kind of know how this works. Who's gonna pick up that mace?
Guess if no one's coming from Quinn, it's gonna reach out for it.
I don't know if I don't know offhand if warlocks can use maces. Hold on, I have like a beginner sheet for him. Uh, I don't know if a mace is a simple weapon.
I believe they would fall into essentially a club. I don't think me calling it a mace necessarily matters there. But one of the things to keep in mind is like with mace is a simple. Um, one thing to keep in mind is like if you decided to go, especially the hexblade, any weapon can become your Hexblade weapon. But that's a question of do you actually want to become a Hexblade? Had you thought about, are you going to be kind of a Gish warlock?
I was thinking more. I think it was what Pact of the Tome. Uh, Probably not the Hex. I mean, I'm actually kind of on the fence about whether I want to make Zeros the main character, or just come up with a new one and keep him as a sidekick.
And that's 100% perfectly fine. That's precisely why I like to have these characters, is because it gives you somebody to play, but you'll still have a week to create your main character. And I think one thing to keep in mind is, regardless of how you choose it, like if Quinn picks it up right now, Quinn's going to get the Spirit of Wongo. She doesn't have to use the mace. She has access to Jarek's sword, and technically speaking, you would have that same choice if you made Zeros your main to choose between the mace or the sword.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because realistically, while this mace is potentially a nice weapon that anybody would want to have, that sword is specifically designed for you and on some level to be overly powerful artifacts. And that's like for Syndra to save her own hide. So in the long run, I think if you kind of know, like if you make a Gish, the sword is the right choice to go for.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm leaning towards a wizard or a sorcerer, or maybe warlock. Maybe Zeros is the main, probably spellcaster. So,
Well, and you would be welcome to, if you created a wizard or a sorcerer, to create a new sidekick to actually have. Like, I think we've shown pretty solidly, like, the fighters are overly powerful.
yeah, and I can have like, yeah, Zeros is gonna. I don't know if he can actually get out of here, but he would essentially be like, yeah, I need to go. Like his patron, the great old one, wants him to bring Jarek's ashes for, I don't know, some unknown reason somewhere. Um, if I decided I wanted to just kind of start fresh with a new main and a new sidekick.
Yeah, the sidekicks are never meant to, like, force you into something. Um, I do think, as far as meta knowledge goes, you guys are all. I mean, you at least on some level found out when you first came in here. As far as you guys know, unless somebody else comes and opens that front gate, you have no way of leaving here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll leave it to you, Chris, if you want Quinn to, I guess more for the spirit of Wongo, go for it. Otherwise, Zeros will go ahead and pick it up. But if Quinn wants it, she's welcome to it.
And she doesn't necessarily want it. It's more like if no one else wants it, she pretty much ready to grab it. Just so someone gets it.
Want to just do a roll for it? Like they're both kind of hesitant. They both almost reach out for it at the same time.
Yeah, we can do that.
Just a straight D20, highest reaches it first or something.
Yeah, do that. D20.
All right,
Quinn it is. So you should be able to see the card for Wango inside of Discord there. Quinn is now pretty much the exact opposite of Ubalaka. You act without concern for the well-being of others, and you gain a pretty badass, like, psychic scream almost. That stun effect could be pretty powerful.
There's there's no like you can only use it like once short rest.
Correct.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
just every action. It's essentially a save or suck, but it's a save or suck for a stun.
Yeah, 60 feet. That's pretty long range as well.
Yeah, DC 16 Wisdom. That's for certain creatures. I feel like that's gonna be tough to hit.
Wisdom is definitely often considered the best of saves. It tends to be the lowest stat for creatures, for like monsters.
Like I'm thinking like those flesh golems that we or whatever they were that we fought. Um, Something like that. I would think would not be particularly like aware, but I don't know. There might be a little meta, but
So I'm tempted to end things, but I do want to get you guys out of this room. I'm curious how you guys think you're going to leave here.
Well, Terran is gonna do like he did before, just spider climbing out.
We get it. You've got easy mode. They don't.
what if we? It's how high are the ceilings in this like little passageway? One thing like if what if we tried to rig up essentially like something that we could like uh a rope up like along the top like maybe Karen could rig it up and then essentially try to like kind of pull ourselves across the rope without touching the ground like almost like monkey bars but with a rope.
The ceilings through most of these places are like about 12 or so feet high. Like that actual fan has about like a 15-foot diameter blade. So it certainly still goes to the ceiling, but like if you could prevent activating it, it would certainly be effective. Um, what I feel like ends up being kind of the weak side of that is where you would place it. I can kind of understand you could like tie it to the fan itself to get like some height for it, but you're basically then like trying to tie it to one of the chests, to the fan, and then like to the banister. It's not going to do a great job keeping it like high.
Yeah, that was kind of my yeah I yeah
But I think that would almost be like 2 to 3 lengths of rope as well to potentially get. Yeah, that's probably about 2 lengths with 60 feet and tying things. Because you're probably looking at like almost like 10 feet just to like tie it around one of the chests out to the fan. Yeah, I think 2 ropes connected together might viably give you that. Um, Damn, this is where having like a solid sense of trigonometry. I feel like if you're covering, what is that, 30 feet and it's going 15 feet up, the rise is it's going 2 feet for every foot it goes up. That seems high enough, at least on that one. And then the second one, it's going 30 feet down 15 feet. I think that's
yeah.
viable enough.
I'm thinking even if we can't get it all the way so that we're not activating it at all, if we can get like a little bit farther away so that we're essentially not standing like right next to the fan when we step onto the thing, and then essentially just again like rush and like as soon as we hit the ground, just make a mad dash down for the end
So
of the
there's
hole.
2 different problems that I could foresee with that. If you go two of you at the same time, you might snap the rope yourselves while you're like basically climbing on it, just overloading the rope. And that might cause a failure that you fall and potentially like get sucked into the fan or not even yet getting past the fan. And then the second thought is if you don't get all the way past the lever, you're going to pretty much consume two of these ropes for each of the two people who needs to get out. So you would need four ropes, and they would basically get wound up into this fan.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Like once it starts, it's gonna just tear right through the rope that's set up.
But I think if you went for that idea of kind of making like I can't think of the actual name for that way of crossing, but you kind of like sit with your chest on top of the rope. You use one of your legs with like your knee kind of like folded in, like your knee like distended. That's not the right way of saying it. And you hook that foot over the rope, and then you hang down your other leg, and you basically like pull yourself on top of the rope to cross like one of those like traverses. And then you kind of would switch around at the fan and go legs first. When you can keep your strength and stay on top, it's quote unquote easy. When you fall to the other side as your strength starts to go, it becomes more difficult, but you're still able to like hang with an elbow. You're hanging with one of your legs, like one of your knees across it. Those joints make it easier to hold, but it takes more effort to move once you're below the rope. Um, so I feel like that is potentially the best answer you guys have at present to go through here. And technically, on the way through, like before, when Taryn didn't actually go through before Jarek did, you guys never had that choice before. Because at best, you would have been able to tie a rope to the fan and get to it, not beyond.
Yeah, and then I don't recall if the when Taryn tried the pythons, obviously they didn't work at all, or I don't know if they gave like even like a couple seconds of
I should have described that better. I wasn't entirely prepared for that. It should have basically disintegrated those pythons.
gotcha. So no, gotcha.
And once you guys get out of here, I'll tell you one of the solutions that is in the book, but I don't think anybody would ever think of.
Yeah, so Taryn, Chris, unless you have another idea.
The
Um
only other idea I have would be like Karen putting rope on the walls, basically to see if you had. Oh, can I draw? I did.
Oh, like using pythons to make like a little traverse along the walls?
Yeah, like one in chest height and one for your feet, so you can hold on and move.
How many pythons do you still have?
Yeah, no, I do not have enough for that. I have 3 left.
Yeah, I'd say on some level with something like that, you're looking at the pythons need to be probably closer. Um, and I'm not sure it really gives you a whole lot better of a chance than what Jarek was thinking. Or damn it, that's going to be difficult. What Zeros was thinking. But I do think there's a certain level of. It's technically a 5-foot corridor. Theoretically, the other two could spread their legs in a way, but it's not going to change like the actual tests. On some level, how I think of it is if you're on top of the rope, it might be a little bit easier of an athletics check, but failing it, you're going to fall below it, and the DC is going to increase. And I think you might have a pretty similar idea. If you go below the rope and you're hanging with your arms, and you're using your legs to push to each side of the corridor, it's going to be maybe like a medium DC on those other two options, in that you still have to hang from it, but on some level, static pressure out will keep you steady. But it doesn't change that failing means you're going to fall right away, instead of, like, if you start on top of the rope, failing means you rotate down below the rope. I just don't know if the Pythons actually, like, change that scenario at all. Did you guys ever get climbing kits?
No, never did that.
Well, I think part of what's so much fun about this scenario is, realistically, you guys went back to town when you were really, really low level. You were still very small little baby adventurers. And part of why I love, like, exploration campaigns is there's just that level of, eventually there's this tipping point where there's no going backward. So if you guys don't have any ideas, let's just start with Zeros or Quinn making an athletics check. I think it probably makes enough sense to start on top of the rope and at least give you one potential failure of rotating down. A second failure might turn the fan, will be dropping to the ground, and the fan potentially turning on.
So Zeros will offer to go first.
And I think what it's going to be is it's going to be 3 checks. You're going to basically have a check across that first portion, a check at the fan, and then a check at the back portion.
Gotcha. And his are all flat on the sidekick Zeros.
Gotcha. Yeah, so athletics across the first one, you're solid. That gets you, like, to the fan. Crossing through the fan, you're going to lose enough of your balance and ability that you're now, like, dangling from the actual rope. And that's where I would say you kind of have, you can do athletics. I guess it doesn't matter for you. Athletics, I think, would be using your legs to kind of brace against the walls. Acrobatics, I think, would be like hanging from it and like a monkey, like moving with your forelimbs. But since it doesn't matter, just another d20. And then if you fail that one, I'm going to have you roll.
I think Zeros
Let me
is
get a
done for there.
d100 from you. This is going to tell me where you fall. All right, you fall towards the end of it, and you're able to run off. Again, that kind of goes to the point of the fan's going to spin up, and it will take a little bit of time for the others to be able to actually follow behind you. But in the long run, Zeros is out and safe.
Gotcha. Thought that one was going to be it for him.
Well, like, if you had rolled, what, like 20% or under, that would have been close enough to the fan where it would have sucked you into it, and it would have potentially been the end of him.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, then let's see. Quinn, 3 athletics.
Yeah. She doesn't have any problem staying on top of the rope, climbing over the actual fan, and then on the latter half staying on top of the rope. And again, Taryn has 0 problem climbing across. You guys can get everybody out of